While renovating the house, we found a grave beneath the bathtub. I should have listened to my wife. When we bought the house on Marlow Street, Emily kept saying something didn't feel right. She wasn't being overly dramatic. She's not that type. Her unease was quiet, persistent, like a low hum in the background. "There's something off," she murmured the first time we stepped into the upstairs bathroom. I brushed it off. We'd seen a dozen fixer-uppers that month, and this one was a steal, a 2-story Victorian with a clawfoot tub and a wide backyard. I told her it just needed work. Old houses have quirks, and the creaky pipes, odd smell, and warped floorboards were part of the charmer, at least the price tag. I wish I could go back and undo it all. We moved in that spring, during one of those rare weeks where everything seems to align. The snow had finally melted, Emily's morning sickness was subsiding, and my remote design job gave me time to start renovations myself. We planned to have the baby's room ready by August. The first week was uneventful. We tore out the old carpet, stripped wallpaper, and painted over water stains. But the bathroom, that was the first real project. The tub sat lopsided, tilted ever so slightly to the left. You wouldn't notice unless you stared, but I noticed everything once Emily pointed it out. "That lean," she said one evening as we brushed our teeth side by side. "It's like it's sinking." I pressed a foot against the tiled floor. It shifted, subtle, but yes, there was a hollow space beneath. "It's probably just the subfloor," I said. "Maybe water damage." She didn't argue, just gave me a look, the kind where she's already imagining something buried in the walls. A week later, I decided to rip up the tile and level the tub. It was a Saturday morning. Emily was at her sister's for the weekend, and I figured I'd surprise her with a finished room. The tiles came up easily, too easily. Beneath them, the plywood subfloor had buckled and rotted. The wood peeled up in damp, papery sheets, and as I worked my way under the tub, the smell hit me. Not mold, not milde. Something else thick and sour, like rotting meat. I gagged and covered my mouth with my shirt. And then my crowbar punched through, not just through wood, through something deeper. I widened the hole and saw dirt. A crawl space, maybe? But the soil was too loose. As I peeled more of the floor back, it became clear this wasn't an ordinary foundation. It was a grave. I uncovered a rib cage first, yellowed and brittle, half curved around the shape of the tub's drain. Then the skull tilted back, as if it had been screaming upward. The rest of the bones were crammed in haphazardly, as though someone had buried the body in haste and poured concrete around it. I didn't call the police right away. I know how bad that sounds. But something about the discovery made my skin crawl, not just fear, but a whisper of guilt, as though I'd been caught prying into something I shouldn't. Instead, I took photos, documented it, closed the bathroom door. That night, I had a dream. I was in the tub, half submerged in cold water. The walls were crumbling inward. Through the cracks, soil poured in. It covered my chest, my neck. Something was breathing under the water, something that shouldn't have lungs. I woke gasping. My phone vibrated on the nightstand. It was Emily. "The baby's kicking," she whispered, laughing. "I wanted you to know." I told her I missed her. I didn't mention the bones. The next morning, I called the city records office. I wanted to know who owned the house before us. A board clerk gave me the history: built in 1891, used as a boarding house, sold in the 1950s, and passed through at least 5 owners since. No major permits had been pulled in decades. I asked if there were any police reports tied to the address. "Nothing recent," she said. I almost left it at that. Then, that afternoon, the water turned black. Not brown, not rusty, black. I'd gone to wash my hands and watched in disbelief as thick, ink-dark water dribbled from the tap. I turned the faucet off, waited, and turned it on again. Clear. I stared into the sink for a long time. By the time Emily came home Sunday night, I had resealed the hole in the bathroom. I couldn't stand to look at it anymore. She didn't notice. She was glowing, laughing about how the baby shifted every time her sister turned on loud music. We had takeout, and I let her talk while I pretended to listen. But my mind was elsewhere. I kept thinking about the bones, the way they curled, almost protectively, around the base of the tub, and the feeling in my stomach that I had disturbed something that was meant to be left alone. That night, Emily insisted on taking a long soak. "My back is killing me," she sighed, lowering herself into the tub. "Feels like this kid's made of concrete." I stood in the doorway, watching her. The water sloshed gently as she leaned back. Something about the way it moved felt wrong. The light above her flickered. "Hey," she said softly. "Do you hear that?" It tickled my hair. There was a sound barely audible like whispering. I turned off the fan. The sound was still there, under the hush of the water. Faint voices, overlapping, repeating. Emily sat up. "Stop it," she said suddenly. I blinked. "What?" "You're not funny," she snapped, water spilling over the edge. "I didn't say anything," I whispered. Her eyes were wide. "He just said my name." We didn't sleep much that night. The next day, she refused to go into the bathroom. She said the whispers hadn't stopped until she pulled the plug, and even then, she swore she felt hands brushing her ankles beneath the water. I wanted to believe she was just anxious, pregnant, overly sensitive. But that night, while brushing my teeth, I looked up into the mirror above the sink and saw someone behind me. Not Emily. A man, soaked, gaunt, with hollow eyes and skin like wax. He stood in the tub, water dripping from his mouth. When I spun around, the tub was empty. I didn't sleep at all. I started researching. I found an old article from 1978 tucked deep in a local paper's archive. "Man missing after rooming house collapse. Nobody was found, just rumors that he had debts, ran off." His name was Victor Lansing. His room was directly above what is now our bathroom. The same week I found the article, Emily woke up screaming. "I was drowning," she sobbed, clutching her belly. "There was someone in the tub. He kept pulling me under. He said I took his place." We agreed to leave the house, just for a few days. A hotel maybe, just to breathe. That afternoon, while I packed, I heard the water running upstairs. Emily was in the living room. I ran. The bathroom door was wide open. And the tub was filling on its own. No one had touched the handles. The plug was in. And worst of all, the water wasn't coming from the tap. It was seeping up from the drain, thick and dark. I tried to stop it, yanked the plug. Nothing. I dipped a hand in and felt something rise with the water, pressing up against my palm. Something with fingers. I recoiled from the water, stumbling back and hitting the doorframe. My hand throbbed where it had touched whatever was beneath the surface. I looked down. My palm was red, streaked with grime, but not cut. Not bruised. Still, I could feel the shape of that thing pressing up from the drain. Thin, bony, deliberate. The water gurgled as it retreated back into the tub, slurping downward like something exhaling. I slammed the door shut, heart pounding, and dragged the old wooden dresser in front of it. My pulse didn't slow until I heard the latch click. I didn't tell Emily about what I felt in the water. She was already skittish, constantly rubbing her belly and eyeing the floorboards like they might crack open. That night, I promised her we'd leave first thing in the morning. But we didn't make it through the night. It started with the knocking. Not at the door beneath the floorboards. I just laid down beside her when I heard it. 4 sharp thumps, paused, then again, like someone knocking to be let out. Emily gripped my arm. "Did you hear that?" I nodded. We got up. The sound was coming from the bathroom, not the door underneath it. The pipes? A squirrel in the crawl space? No, it was rhythmic, intentional, a pattern. Emily backed away. "We shouldn't be here." She was right. Every nerve in my body screamed at me to get out. I opened my mouth to tell her we'd leave right now, tonight. And then the screaming started. It came from the pipes. A raw, muffled shriek, like someone was being dragged through water with their throat half closed. It burst through the metal of the faucet and the wall, a tortured wail that echoed through the bathroom and down the hall. Emily screamed and fell to her knees, hands pressed to her ears. Make it stop! Please, he's saying something I don't understand. He's in the water, I pulled her up and we ran. Out of the house, into the car, down the road. We didn't look back until we were halfway across town. We stayed at her sister's place that night. Emily was pale and trembling, her hands curled around her stomach like armor. She didn't speak much. I called a contractor the next morning, told him I needed the tub removed, urgently. I paid extra for short notice. I'll bring my crew out first thing tomorrow, he said. But he never showed. Not to me, anyway. The call came in around 3:00 p.m. The man on the other end identified himself as Detective Harold Greeley. He said there had been an incident, a workplace fatality. What are you talking about? I asked, stomach already sinking. A man named Thomas Rickshaw, one of the crew you hired. He went ahead to your house alone this morning. According to his supervisor, he was planning to inspect the tub, prep it for demolition. I was silent. They found him in the bathroom, the detective continued. He'd drowned. What? In the tub, filled completely with water. The others arrived maybe 20 minutes later. No sign of forced entry, no running faucets. And yet, he trailed off. And yet what? There was a pause. The medical examiner says he was found in a fetal position at the bottom of the tub. Water in his lungs, but he cleared his throat. He had scratches, deep ones. Down his legs and arms, like fingernails. I couldn't speak. I need you to come in, the detective said finally. Answer a few questions. I did. They let me go after a few hours, but I saw the look in Greeley's eyes. He didn't believe me. Not really, but he couldn't explain it either. Back at my sister-in-law's house, Emily was worse. She wouldn't speak. She stared at the ceiling, eyes darting side to side, like she was following something I couldn't see. She didn't recognize me at first. Just kept whispering, "It's under me. He's under me." That night, she miscarried. There was blood. So much blood. The ambulance came, but it was too late. They said it might have been stress, trauma, but they didn't know. They never found a medical reason, just that her body gave up. They buried our child in a small graveyard near the edge of town. I buried a part of myself that day too. For 2 weeks, I stayed with her sister. I didn't sleep much. I didn't eat. I just sat in the dark and listened for dripping water, even when I was nowhere near the house. It never stopped. A constant dripping. In the walls. Behind my eyes. I went back to the house on the 15th day, alone. I brought a sledgehammer. The bathroom door was still blocked by the dresser, though it had been moved an inch, maybe 2. I could feel it when I pushed something had nudged it from the other side. Inside, the tub was full. Clear water. Still, I smashed it. I took the sledgehammer and brought it down on the porcelain. Again, and again. The tub cracked, then shattered, water flooding the room. Beneath it, the hole was still there, the loose earth, the slumped bones, but they were wrong now. They had moved. The skull had turned. It faced the door. I dropped the hammer and stumbled back. My breath hitched in my chest. And then I saw the second body, buried under the first. Smaller, finer bones, a second skull cradled under the ribs of the first. I stood there for what felt like hours, until the sun began to set and the shadows lengthened over the bones. I left the house again that night, called the police. But when they came the next morning, the tub was whole again. Intact. Not a crack in sight. The floor was sealed. No hole, no bones. Just a pristine porcelain bathtub, gleaming like it had never been touched. Detective Greeley pulled me aside. "Sir, are you on any medication?" "No," I said, voice hollow. "Because none of this adds up. Your contractor is dead, yes, but there's no evidence of drowning. The autopsy found water in his lungs, but no tub water. Salt water, like seawater." I just stared at him. "Look," he said, softening. "I believe something happened here. I do, but without physical proof, there's not much I can do." He left me standing in the hallway. That night, I found the message. It had been scratched into the mirror above the sink, faint, only visible when the steam from the shower fogged the glass. One always replaces the other. After I found the message on the mirror, I stopped using the bathroom entirely. I sealed the door with plywood and duct tape, then moved my mattress into the living room. I couldn't leave. Not yet. Something inside me had changed since I saw the second skeleton. It gnawed at me. Not just grief or fear, but obsession. The house wanted something, and it had taken enough already. I started combing records again, going deeper than I had before. County archives, library microfilm. I bribed a clerk at the courthouse to let me into storage files marked for shredding. I kept searching until I found the missing piece. It wasn't just Victor Lansing, the man who had gone missing in 1978. There were 3 other cases, 3 men, spanning nearly a century, all tenants of the same property, all vanished without a trace, always while living in the upper rooms. And in each case, the record stopped right before someone new bought the house. Each time, the sale was quick, cheap, desperate. And each time, shortly afterward, another death was reported, someone connected to the property. A drowning, a collapse, a stillbirth. I found a photo of Lansing tucked in an old newspaper, black and white, grainy, but clear enough to make out his face. He looked exactly like the figure I'd seen in the mirror. I photocopied it and taped it beside the bathroom door. I didn't know what else to do. I was losing sleep again. The whispers came at night, now through the floor, not just the pipes. Sometimes they answered questions I hadn't said aloud. Sometimes they laughed when I wept. It got worse. One evening, I was sitting on the stairs, listening to the house creak and settle, when I felt a shift beneath me. The wooden riser groaned and then dipped like something heavy had passed beneath. I jumped up. From the space under the stairs came a sigh, long, wet, gurgling. I ran out into the yard and vomited. That was the night I decided to destroy the entire bathroom floor. If the tub wouldn't stay broken, I'd tear out the foundation itself. I rented tools the next morning, saws, picks, a power auger. I was going to dig until there was nothing left. I started at noon. By 1:00 p.m., the plywood I'd sealed the door with had rotted, crumbled in my hands like it had aged a decade overnight. The tub sat there, serene and gleaming, almost smug. I didn't hesitate. I smashed the floor apart, dripping tile, sawing through joists, pounding holes into the foundation with the auger. And there it was again, the skeleton. Only now, it had changed again. The smaller bones beneath it, the second skeleton, were gone. I stopped cold. Sweat dripped into my eyes. I scanned the room. Had the bones been removed? Then I saw something even worse. Where the second skeleton had been, the dirt was fresher, newly disturbed, like something had crawled out. I backed away, still holding the auger. That night, I boarded the bathroom shut again. Not with tape, with 2x4s and nails. I sealed it from the outside. But the next morning, the boards were gone. Not torn down, gone. No nails, no wood, just smooth wall. And in the hallway mirror outside the bathroom, a single sentence was etched into the glass. You are already in the water. I stopped eating, stopped sleeping. The house was winning. Then the dreams returned. Not dreams, visions. I saw a woman sobbing in a turn-of-the-century dress, trying to drag the tub from its foundation. Her hands bled against rusted metal. A child cried behind her, unseen. I saw a man in a boarding room upstairs, hammering nails into a journal, then swallowing the key. Water leaked from his eyes. I saw the original builders of the house, laughing as they poured cement over a narrow trench where a coffin had no room to fit properly. And I saw the thing beneath it all, not a person, not anymore. It wore bones like armor. It breathed through the pipes. It had waited a long time. When I woke, I was soaked to the skin. My mattress sat in a puddle of cold, dark water. The ceiling above me had no leak. The room around me was dry. Only my body and bed were wet. I couldn't live like this. I had to end it. I went back to the library and searched for property blueprints. Deep in a dusty archive box, I found an original hand-drawn floor plan dated 1891. The bathroom wasn't supposed to exist. Where the tub was now, the plan showed a closet. The bathtub had been added later. Not just installed built over something. Beneath that room, in older records, I found a note scribbled in the margin of an old deed. Do not disturb. Let the drowned rest. I copied the note and pinned it to my wall. I didn't know what else to do. The next day, Emily's sister came to visit. Her name was Denise. She'd called 3 times and finally said, "Either you answer the door or I'm calling the police." I let her in. She took one look at me and gasped, "You look like hell, Mark. Have you eaten? Have you showered?" I shook my head. She stepped past me, eyes scanning the house. "Where's the bathroom?" "Don't," I said immediately. "It's not safe." She gave me that look the one people give to the grief-stricken, the unraveling. "You need help," she said gently. "I'm going to draw you a bath. You're scaring me." I blocked her. "No, I mean it. Stay away from the tub." She didn't listen. While I was in the kitchen, drinking the first glass of water I'd held in days, I heard the door creak open upstairs. By the time I got to the top of the stairs, it was too late. She was already in the tub. Steam clouded the air. She looked over her shoulder and gave me a weak smile. "See? It's just a tub." I opened my mouth to shout, but then I saw the mirror behind her. Her face in the reflection was smiling, but her real face was frozen. Still, eyes wide. Her mouth moved once. I couldn't hear what she said. Then her head sank under the water. I ran to her. The door slammed shut behind me. She didn't come back up. I plunged my arms into the tub, screaming. My hands met flesh, but it wasn't hers. It was cold, sharp-edged, thin as reeds. It clung to me. I pulled. Something came up. It wasn't Denise. It had her face, but too many fingers. Its arms were jointed wrong, and behind her eyes was someone else. I slammed the lid down on the tub and wedged the sledgehammer across it. That's where she is now. If it's still her. I don't know how to explain what's happened. I don't even know who's writing this anymore. The whispers have grown louder. They don't just echo, they answer. They told me the truth last night. Not everyone who dies in that house becomes the water. Some are taken. Some are swapped. One always replaces the other. I haven't left the house in 3 days. Not because I can't, because I'm afraid if I do, something worse will get out with me. The thing in the tub wearing Denise's skin hasn't moved, not while I'm looking, but I hear it when I sleep. The creaking of porcelain under its weight, the soft splash of water when it shifts, the whisper of her voice at the bottom of the stairs. It mimics her perfectly, calls my name like she's crying. But I know better now. I sleep downstairs, but not really. I close my eyes and I see it. The tub, the bones, that second skeleton that vanished from beneath Victor's ribcage, filled in by someone else. By Denise. And something else is still missing. Something that still needs replacing. On the 4th night, I wake to silence. Not normal silence, total silence. No house groans, no birds, not even the wind through the trees. Just absence. That's when I hear the bathtub drain begin to gurgle again. Not like it's emptying. Like it's breathing. I creep up the stairs, hammer in one hand, flashlight in the other. The bathroom door is ajar. Steam rolls out, thick and warm and wet, smelling faintly of copper and soil. I push the door open. The tub is full, but not with water, with dirt. Black sticky soil pulsing faintly like it's alive. Something rises from it. Not Denise, not Victor. Someone else. Me. My face, my body, standing up slowly from the muck, like it's being carved into shape. It opens its eyes and smiles. "I've waited long enough," it says, with my voice. I stumble back. "What are you?" It climbs over the tub's edge with fluid grace. Water trickles from its skin, turning to black mold where it touches tile. "I'm you," it says. "The version of you that never should have left. The part that belongs here, the debt unpaid." Behind it, the mirror fogs. Words appear. You replaced someone else. Now it's your turn. I run. Down the stairs, into the crawl space. I don't know why, but something tells me the answers are down there, that the bones were never just buried beneath the tub. I smash through a floor vent and lower myself into the dark. The air is cold, damp. I crawl forward with the flashlight clenched between my teeth. Then I find it. Not one grave. Dozens. Bones everywhere, child-sized, adult, twisted into each other like roots, skulls with mouths stretched wide in permanent screams. A shrine sits at the far end built of vertebrae and rusted copper. An old drain pipe juts from the center, trickling black water into a basin of cracked porcelain. A single name is carved above it. Lansing. This wasn't just a death. It was a ritual. A cycle. The house feeds on them on us. Each tenant who lives above that bathroom ends up offering a life, voluntarily or not. And if no one dies, someone else must be taken. One for one. I crawl back up in horror, already knowing what I have to do. I return to the bathroom. The copy of me is still there, smiling with my face, holding the hammer I dropped. You came back, it says. I'm ending this. It laughs. How? You are the final piece. Once you drown, the house resets. But that's the one flaw in the pattern. I don't have to drown. I don't have to replace anyone. I pick up the sledgehammer, smash the wall, rip out the pipes, tear the mirror from the wall and throw it through the window. The house screams literally, a low groan like metal shearing underwater. The thing charges me. We struggle. It's stronger than me, but I've got something it doesn't. Desperation. I swing the hammer into its side. It splits open, releasing a wave of black, tarry water and the stench of rot. It collapses. And behind it, the tub is empty. Completely empty. No dirt, no water, no bones. Just porcelain. Cracked. Dry. I destroy it anyway. By morning, the house is in shambles. I call the fire department, tell them I left the stove on, that something caught fire in the bathroom. They arrive too late to save anything. The house burns clean. They find no bodies. No bones. No remains of a second person. Not even Denise. Weeks later, I get a package in the mail. No return address. Inside is a photograph. My house, decades ago. Standing on the porch, a man who looks exactly like me. On the back, one sentence written in faded ink. You weren't the first. I left town that night. I don't know where the curse came from, but I know it's still out there. Because sometimes, when I close my eyes in the shower, I hear water dripping where none should fall. I hear someone whispering beneath the tile. And sometimes, I see a face in the mirror that isn't mine.